Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a story that's all about professional betrayal and revenge. We're talking about how getting fired from one of the biggest bands on the planet sparked a 40-year mission to be bigger, faster, and heavier than ever before. This is the story of how Megadeth was built.
So, to really get Megadeth, you can't start with a song. You can't even start with a guitar riff. Nope, you have to start with a date. April 11th, 1983. This was the day it all went down. The Big Bang, really, that created one of the absolute titans of heavy metal.
All right, so let's get into this origin story. And like so many of the best stories, this one kicks off with just a moment of complete, soul-crushing rejection.
I mean, just try to picture this for a second. You're in New York, you're about to record your very first album with your band. And then bam, they wake you up, tell you you're fired, and hand you a one-way bus ticket home. We're talking a 4-day bus ride back to California. It was just swift, brutal, humiliating. But, that long, miserable ride, it turned into something else entirely. It became the forge where his new plan was created. So this wasn't just him being bummed out. Oh no, this was a full-on declaration of war. He was fueled by this raw, burning desire for revenge. And right there on that bus, he started plotting. He was going to build a new band, and this band was going to be better than his old one in every single way you could measure it. Faster, more technical, more aggressive, the works.
And as he's sitting there, stewing on this bus, he finds this political handbill from a senator named Alan Cranston. It's all about the dangers of nuclear war, and this one phrase just leaps off the page at him: Arsenal of Megadeth. He just drops an A, and boom, he has the name for his new band. And that name, Megadeth, it told you everything you needed to know right from the start. This was going to be a band about big, scary ideas, systemic violence, existential threats, themes they'd stick with for their entire career.
Okay, so he has the name. He has the motivation. But how do you actually build this machine of musical revenge? Well, Dave wasn't just going to copy the formula that was already out there. No way. He was going to tear up the blueprint and start from scratch. He had this term for it: state-of-the-art speed metal. See, the goal here wasn't just to be another thrash band that played fast and angry. The mission was to set a totally new standard for musicianship. He wanted to raise the bar for the entire genre, to be the most technically brilliant band out there.
And how he did it is what's so wild. You have Mustaine, right? He's all about that classic heavy metal and blues rock foundation. But who does he recruit for his new band? He goes out and finds guys from the world of jazz fusion. I'm talking about guitarist Chris Poland and drummer Gareth Samuelson. They brought this syncopation, this complexity and fluidity that was just completely unheard of in thrash metal back then.
And look, this was a huge risk, a massive gamble. As Marty Friedman, who would later join the band, said, it was like mixing peanut butter and chocolate. Yeah, it turned out to be amazing, but it could have just as easily been a total mess. That combination of thrash power and jazz intellect, it created a sound that was absolutely one of a kind.
Okay, but there's a problem, right? A physical one. How on earth do you play these ridiculously complex riffs at lightning speed without your hand just seizing up, or without it all just sounding like a bunch of noise? Well, Mustaine's solution was an actual technical innovation, something that would become his signature.
He came up with this thing called the spider chord. So instead of moving your whole hand position up and down the guitar neck like most players, he taught himself to use all 4 of his fingers to basically crawl between chords. It's a crazy technique, but it let him play those super fast, choppy, angular riffs that are the absolute core of the Megadeth sound, and he could do it with insane precision.
So the musical blueprint was brilliant, but that was only half the story. All that technical skill had to be paired with an equally powerful message, an ideology. See, the music wasn't just complex to show off, it was a weapon. It was the delivery system for a message of pure defiance. And the heart of that message, believe it or not, comes from this really old proverb: see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. We've all heard it, but Mustaine took that idea and twisted it into something gruesome. He made it literal, and in doing so created this perfect symbol of rebellion against anyone trying to shut people up. And this is him, Vic Rattlehead. Just look at him. His ears are covered with these metal caps so he can't hear the truth. His eyes are literally riveted shut with a visor so he can't see the truth. And his jaw is stapled together so he can't speak the truth. He is literally the physical manifestation of the band's whole anti-authority stance.
And what's cool is that Vic doesn't stay the same. If you look at the album covers over the years, he evolves right alongside the band's lyrics. He starts out as a victim of the system, but by the time you get to Peace Sells But Who's Buying, he's this slick, skeletal real estate agent selling off what's left of the UN. His journey really reflects the band's focus on everything from political corruption to conspiracy to society just falling apart at the seams.
So in the late 80s, this whole fight against control thing got very, very real. They went head-to-head with the PMRC, that's the Parents Music Resource Center. It was basically a group of politicians' wives in Washington who were trying to censor rock music. And this fight, this battle, became the inspiration for what is pretty much the ultimate anti-censorship anthem.
And that's the thing about the song Hook and Mouth. It wasn't just mindless screaming. It was smart. It was a manifesto. It talks about a little man with a big eraser who's changing the facts. It even has this twisted acrostic that spells out the word freedom. And it all culminates in this powerhouse line, "I'm not a fish, I'm a man." It's this total rejection of being led around like a puppet on a string.
So after 4 decades of pushing the limits, surviving everything the world could throw at them, stirring up controversy, and of course, a lot of headbanging, the epic story that started on that lonely bus ride is now coming to its final chapter.
I mean, think about what this guy has been through. A nerve injury in his arm that doctors said would stop him from ever playing guitar again. A brutal fight with throat cancer. More lineup changes than you can count. And after all that, Dave Mustaine announced this is it. Megadeth's final album, final tour. He said he wants to go out on top, on his own terms. It's really the end of an incredible era.
And if you look at the track list for this final album, which is just self-titled Megadeth, it's really interesting. You've got song titles that are basically a victory lap. Let There Be Shred, Puppet Parade. But it's the very last track, a bonus song, that ties this whole massive 40-year story together in a perfect bow. Because that last song, it's a cover. It's a brand new version of Ride the Lightning. And if that name sounds familiar, it should. It's a classic Metallica song. From their second album, a song that Dave Mustaine co-wrote right before they kicked him out all those years ago. Now just think about that for a second. Why? Why would you end a career that was literally founded on the idea of one-upping your rivals by playing one of their most iconic songs? Is this the ultimate power move, like I'm taking back what's mine, or is there something else going on here?
Well, if you ask Mustaine himself, the story that started as this fiery act of pure revenge, something born out of total humiliation, it ends with an act of reclamation, and maybe surprisingly, an act of respect. It's him finally closing the loop, looking back at the exact moment that kicked this whole insane journey off.
And that really leaves us with one big question, doesn't it? Can the greatest things we ever create, can they really come from our absolute lowest, most painful moments of rejection? Well, if you look at the legacy of Megadeth, the answer seems to be a resounding yes. It seems that sometimes the architecture of revenge can build something that doesn't just last, it changes everything for an entire generation.